Actually, hello and welcome to this discussion on current affairs for this year 2020 preliminary exam. We are almost say 1 month away from this exam right now. Things are quite tight. I know a bit of tension, increased heartbeat, everything is quite normal. That is what it happens when you are approaching the exam, but this is not the time to get panic. Most of you are in a very good position because we got a lot of time to prepare. You studied. Now it's a question of revision and improving and maximize and how to reduce your the chance of making mistakes. I'll be talking about exam handling in the coming days. I mean, on Friday I will be talking exactly about that. What all precautions you have to take. Some steps I will be talking very specifically, which can be useful for you. Definitely it will be useful for you. I will be talking about that also. But right now, as I was always mentioning, you should revision, consolidation and practicing as maximum as possible. See, whatever material you prepared, whatever NCERT, whichever NCERT you have read and underlined, whatever notes you made or whatever classes you have attended, okay, our classes, or even if you have not attended our ALS Institute or somewhere else you have attended, whatever material you have, material is not wrong. The problem is how well we are using that material, how much revision you are doing, how many rounds you are able to do. Even now, in the next 30-35 days, 2 rounds of revision scope is there. So, next 20 days, you should be able to finish 1 round and then the last 10 days should be devoted for a final round of revision. So that you can easily manage, because it's a question of repeated revision and memory, and along with that, practice. Question practice is a must. Where in the test and even the paper 2, the CSAT, practicing CSAT is a very important aspect right now. So please don't forget all these things. Don't give up on practice and add anything new unless otherwise very vital, like what we are teaching or the current affairs and all. It's okay. Otherwise, everything else what you read, you please revise. Don't add, don't read anything new. Please revise again and again. So having said all these things, the first topic related to science related, I am continuing. Tomorrow I may be talking about international bilateral, and then in the last session I will be talking about how to handle and some precautions and some specific steps regarding the exam I will be talking. And even we will be talking about what to do after the preliminary, because we should be going ahead thinking that, and we are writing the main exam and we need to revise and consolidate for the main exam also, but that is immediately after the preliminary exam. It's a golden opportunity for all of us. If you work hard right now, the chance of getting through is very high and you should not give up on this front. Okay. So, coming to in a couple of points, I was talking about accents in the previous. So, let me talk about this the concept of herd immunity. Even though you may be knowing it, but I would like to add, because these are in thing these days. So, as per the expert, there are 2 pathways of herd immunity. One is natural infection and another is vaccination. One is natural infection and the second is vaccination. Okay, so that means when a large number, what is natural infection? When a large number of people have had a disease and then recovered. So they will be immune to this again. or vaccination which can provide widespread immunity faster and more reliably. So, herd immunity. So, what do you mean by herd immunity? Herd immunity refers to a large portion of the community. So, herd immunity refers to a large portion of the community developing a degree of immunity to a virus. Developing a degree of immunity to the virus. A large portion of the community developing a degree of immunity to virus, thereby reducing person spread. So, the most important thing is thereby reducing person to person spread. Person to person spread. So, this is that is the meaning of herd immunity. So, it refers to a large portion of a community developing a degree of immunity person to person spread. As a result, the whole community gains protection. So, this natural infection refers to when a large number of people got this disease. Natural infection means large number of people got this disease and then recovered. However, but the extent of protection via natural infection, what is the extent of protection right now, especially in corona situation, it is unknown. It is unknown the extent of protection via natural virus, and most importantly, even if we say it is 2% mortality rate, even less than 2% mortality, government is very happy talking about our mortality rate is very less. But even 2% is very high. See, if you are having 80,000, 90,000 people getting infected on a daily basis, and if you are talking about 2%, see that 2% of 1 lakh is 2,000 people. So, you are losing, and now more than 1,000 people are dying on a daily basis. So, it is huge. So, the cost of people are dying, and we cannot, more people will die. We wait, and we cannot allow these people to die. Even 2%, even less than 2% mortality, that is a huge number. And this risk of mortality, when you are talking about natural herd immunity, this risk of mortality is unacceptable, or the process is so many, it is unacceptable, and it can lead to so many deaths. So many thousands and lakhs of people will die in the process in India if you are waiting for a herd immunity to come. So, and most importantly, we don't know much about the long-term effects of this virus. We don't know much about the long-term effects. Long-term effects of this virus. Then we don't know, we cannot say that herd immunity will come. So, vaccination can provide widespread immunity faster and reliable. So, herd immunity, the natural infection route is not acceptable. We should prevent as many people from getting this disease. It is not acceptable. We should not be thinking about that. So, vaccination can provide widespread immunity faster and more reliably, and that is, and experts believe that if not taking any step or other, the herd immunity can achieve when 50 to 70% of the population, herd immunity will achieve when 50 to 70% of the population. To 70% of the population gains immunity through vaccination. That is what we should be aiming, and precise level, whether it is 70% required or in a 75%, that depends upon the vaccine's efficacy rate. Okay, the precise percentage depends on vaccine's efficacy rate. If the efficacy rate is good, and we can achieve herd immunity between 50 to 70% of the people. If we are able to vaccinate 50 to 70% of the population, we will be able to. So there should be. So we have very clearly mentioned what is herd immunity. Herd immunity refers to a large proportion or large portion of the community developing a degree of immunity to a virus, thereby reducing person-to-person contact. As a result, the whole community gains protection, not just who are immune. So that is the idea behind the herd immunity. Now, a couple more terms. Now, that is one thing. What is herd immunity? There should not be any confusion. That can be a question in preliminary exam. Similarly, in a pandemic and epidemic, another topic, pandemic and epidemic. So this novel coronavirus, for the first when it is reported in China's Wuhan in December 2019. Please remember, in December 2019 in Wuhan it was reported, and WHO declared it as a pandemic on March 11, 2020. March 11, 2020, WHO declared it as a pandemic. So what is that? Then before that, WHO declared it as a public health emergency of international concern. In fact, on 30th January, WHO declared as a public health emergency of international concern. Public On 30th January 2020, it was declared as public health emergency of international concern. Now, what is public health emergency? It's a situation that is serious, unusual or unexpected. So, what is this public health emergency? A situation, it is serious, unusual or unexpected, unusual or unexpected, then carries implication of public health beyond the affected state's national border. It has implication beyond the affected state's national border. Carries implication beyond the affected national border. Beyond the affected country's national border, carries implication beyond the affected country's national border, and it may require immediate international attention, and it may require immediate international attention. Okay, so a public health emergency by WHO means it is a situation that is serious, unusual or unexpected, and it carries implication for public health beyond the affected state's national border and may require immediate international action. Public health emergency, that talks about public health emergency. So this is something which was declared by WHO in March itself. Sorry, in January. Then in March 11, it was declared as a pandemic. Now, what do you mean by the term pandemic and epidemic are never used to indicate the severity of the disease. So please remember, this pandemic or epidemic, it does not indicate the severity of the disease. Indicate the severity of the disease. It only talks about the degree at which the disease is spreading, the degree at which it is, whether it is severe, whether it is a normal, cough and cold. It doesn't talk about how many people will die. Nothing is talked about in this. It only talks about the degree at which the disease is spreading, the degree at which the disease is spreading. The degree at which the disease is spreading. So, WHO, the public health response of a disease or an outbreak depends upon the terms like pandemic or epidemic, other than the nature of the disease. It is not about the nature of the disease. It is not talking about. So, epidemic in English, what do you mean by epidemic? Is used to describe a problem that has grown out of control. So, in normal parlance, epidemic is a situation which has grown out of control. Situation which has grown out of control. But in WHO parlance, it defines epidemic as an outbreak of a disease that spreads quickly and affects many individuals at the same time. A disease that spreads quickly. WHO is a disease that spreads quickly. A disease that spreads quickly and affects many individuals at the same time. Spreads quickly and affects many individuals at the same time. Okay, spreads quickly and affects many individuals at the same time. So, an epidemic is an event in which the disease is actively spreading. So, the disease is actively spreading. The disease is actively spreading. But pandemic, the term pandemic on the other hand, it relates to a geographical spread of the disease. Okay, here in epidemic, we are not talking about any geographic spread. Pandemic relates to the geographic spread of the disease. Geographic spread of the disease. And a pandemic affects a wider geographical area. It affects a wider geographical area and even worldwide, and infects a large number of people. It affects much more. So, in conclusion, a pandemic is an epidemic on a global scale. Okay, pandemic is an epidemic of global scale. So, please don't confuse. There can be a simple question based on all these things in preliminary exam. WHO explains that an epidemic becomes a pandemic when it spreads over a significant geographical area and affects a large percent of population. It spreads over a significant geographical area and it affects a large percent of the population. That is the idea, in the meaning of pandemic. Now, one more point, WHO, there are pandemic level or the WHO pandemic alert levels are there. Okay, now let me just talk about WHO pandemic alert levels. Okay, WHO pandemic alert levels. Let me just talk about that. WHO pandemic alert levels. In fact, there are 6 different pandemic influenza phases, or what Supreme Court, what WHO has come out. Okay, so 6 levels, and then there is a post-pandemic, post phases also. There are 6 phases. Then we can say +2. One is 2 more, that is related to a post peak, and then finally the normalization stage. So that, but 6 phases are more important during the pandemic. So phase 1, according to WHO, phase 1, a virus circulate among animals, but with no case reported of infection in humans. So, phase 1 is virus in animals and no case in humans. So, in the WHO pandemic alert level, phase 1 is virus in animals circulating among the animals, but no case in the humans. Coming to phase 2, an animal flu virus is known to have caused infection in human. So, here it has jumped to humans. So, a virus in an animal has jumped into human and it's caused infection and therefore considered a potential pandemic threat. A potential pandemic threat, that is phase 2. Then coming to phase 3, an animal or human flu virus has caused sporadic cases of small outbreaks in human. So, phase 3. So, this virus has caused sporadic cases or small outbreaks in human. This causes, this virus causes sporadic outbreak in humans, but has not resulted in human to human transmission, but no human to human transmission. So, but no human to human transmission. So, in phase 3, please remember, it is sporadic outbreak in humans are there, but no human to human transmission, or that is not, there is no community level outbreak. So, there is no human to human transmission. Phase 4, human to human transmission of an animal or zoonotic virus has happened that is able to cause community level outbreak. So, human to human transmission. Which can lead to community level outbreaks. Which can lead to community level outbreaks. And phase 5, is a situation where human to human spread and the virus into at least 2 countries in one region. Okay, human to human, now it's all human to human spread with at least 2 countries affected. In a region. Human to human transmission with at least 2 countries affected in a region, that is phase 5. And finally, phase 6, pandemic phase. This is a phase 6, we are in the corona, we are in the phase 6, pandemic phase. Where the human to human spread has resulted in at least 2 countries in the same region and it is extending to at least 1 country outside the region. So, at least 2 countries in the same region, at least 2 countries in same region plus 1 country outside the region. Okay, so at least 2 countries in the same region and 1 country outside the region, that is phase 6. Then there is a phase 7, they are not called, there is a post peak phase. Okay, after reaching the peak number of cases, that is what they call it, the post peak phase will be there, and a last phase will be when the epidemic has finally fully under control. Okay, the last phase will be epidemic fully in control, or pandemic and it will be only localized. I mean, when it has come down and things are fully under control. That is, but right now the 6 phases they are talking, there are only 6 phases, that phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The rest 2 are post peak phase and the pandemic fully under control, where the number of cases have dwindled and there is no major threat to anybody's life. That stage is the last 2, but that is not that important. What is more important for us is phase 1 to 6. We are in the as far as the corona is concerned, right now in September, we are in the phase 6. Most of the countries in the world are already affected. Now phase 6 is saying that at least 2 countries in the same region and 1 country outside the region. In fact, almost every country in the world is affected right now. So that is the phase 6 is going on. That is the alert levels. Okay, so this is what a WHO pandemic alert level. So be careful. This also can be important for in preliminary. These kind of things can always be asked. So be careful about this particular topic. So that's about this pandemic. Now let me move out of another science related topic, small one. Recently, I mean in fact in the last couple of years I'm talking, Apollo Hospital inaugurated Proton Cancer Center. Apollo Hospital, Chennai. Okay, Proton Cancer Center in Apollo Hospital, Chennai. So India became the 16th country in the world to offer this therapy. We have become 16th in the world to offer this therapy, which can be used to reduce the risk of second cancer in young adults. The risk of in youngsters. The second cancer in young adults. So this Apollo Proton Cancer Center has been inaugurated, and the center offers proton therapy, which is called pencil beam technology. This Proton Apollo Hospital, the Proton Center, the Proton Cancer Center offers pencil beam technology. It offers pencil beam technology. The advantage is it provides a high degree of precision. This provides very high degree of precision, and it is this Apollo Proton Cancer Center. Okay, this is a 150 bed integrated cancer care center, 150 bed center, and it will be, and at present there are 72 across the world. There are 72 centers in the world. India is the 16th country which have access to this, or we have this kind of a facility, and it has become important that in brain tumor, in solid cancers, in pediatric cancers, this can be used. It can be used in brain tumors. In brain tumors, in solid cancer, in pediatric cancers, this technology can be used. Okay, and this is called, worldwide, this is called particle beam therapy. This is also known as particle beam therapy. This is also known as particle beam particle beam therapy. Okay. So, here what is happening is around many particle beam therapy, but most important is this proton therapy. Proton, neutron, electron, the same thing. Okay. So, the proton therapy, and it may be costing, it's the machinery and all, this therapy, Apollo Hospital has spent I think almost 1,300 crore rupees, and per person, per patient, the cost involved will be 25 to 30 lakhs. Okay, that is what the approximate cost, just for your information I am talking. So, what is this particle beam therapy? It's a form of external beam radiotherapy. Particle beam therapy, it is a form of external beam therapy, external beam radiotherapy using beams of energetic neutrons, protons, which uses beams of energetic protons, neutrons, electrons, okay, or any other heavier positive ions. See, electrons are not there. I think I made a mistake. So, protons, neutrons, or any other heavier positive ions. Any other heavier positive ions. Okay, any other positive ion for cancer treatment. So, a particle beam therapy is a form of external beam radiotherapy using beams of energetic neutrons, protons, or any other heavier positive ions for cancer treatment. And the most common thing is, I told you, proton therapy. And see, what is the difference? In X-ray, what is the, in contrast to say X-ray and say proton? See, in when you compare, so these X-rays are, light, that is a electromagnetic radiation. So, X-ray can be summed as a photon. Photon is light, whereas proton is a particle. Okay, proton therapy delivers their maximum radiation at or near the tumor. So, the precision is the key. Proton therapy, precision is the key, and it can deliver the dose at or near the tumor. It can deliver at the tumor or near the tumor. And minimize the damage of the surrounding normal tissues. Minimizes the damage of surrounding tissues. Minimizes the damage of the normal surrounding tissues. So, that is why this particle therapy is very important, and that can help, it will not kill the other good tissues, it will only kill the cancerous tissues or the tumor. And this is also known as hadron therapy. Okay, this proton therapy can also be known, is also known as hadron. See, large, hadron, you might have heard about that LHC, hadron, center in Europe, where they conducted the experiment of these charged particles. Okay, so that is also known as hadron therapy. So, we have proton, so particle beam, okay, it's also known as particle beam therapy or proton therapy. So, that is what it has been introduced, especially so Apollo Proton Cancer Center, pencil beam technology. It's a very, very narrow, the beam of that particles will be going, charged particles will be bombarded on the tumor or surrounding the tumor to destroy the tumor, and in the process it is not destroying like the X-rays, where the photon, the electromagnetic radiation is used. In the electromagnetic radiation, when it is used, it has a potential to destroy the surrounding cells also. That is why it is important. So, it is there in India, Apollo Hospital in Chennai, they started it, a bit costly, but 16th country in the world to introduce this kind of a thing. Okay. So, that is the proton therapy I am talking, or the Proton Cancer Center. Now, let us move out of this topic. Coming to sodium sulfur battery. Sodium sulfur battery. So, and that too, it is already there, but it is normally it used to be there only in high temperature battery. So, this is a higher charge storage battery, and this is we have developed, or rather in India it has been developed as a room temperature, in the room temperature. And the sodium sulfur battery, otherwise in normal circumstances it requires around 300 degrees Celsius for operation. To use the sodium sulfur battery, it should be at a temperature of 300 degrees Celsius. But Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, IIT Madras, scientists, they have developed a technology where sodium sulfur battery can be operated at room temperature. So, sodium sulfur battery to be operated at room temperature is a speciality of this development. And by operating the battery at room temperature, the team achieved higher charge storage capacity. It achieved higher charge storage capacity, which is otherwise known as specific capacity. It is also known as specific capacity. It has achieved specific capacity and nearly zero self-discharge when the battery is not in use. That is another very important, higher charge storage capacity and nearly zero self-discharge when it is not in use. So, and it has been found that even after around 500 cycles of charging, battery still had 83% capacity. Even after 500 cycles of charging. 83% capacity even after 500 cycles of charging. See, many a times what happens, as we repeatedly recharge, the capacity goes down, then it will become useless. But even after 500 cycles, it found that 83% capacity is there. That is a great achievement. And how did they achieve? They achieved by changing the electrolyte. So please remember, what are the difference they made? IIT Madras scientists have changed the electrolyte. They have changed the electrolyte. Conventionally, normally, they used to use solid electrolyte. Sodium beta alumina was used. Conventionally, scientists were using sodium beta alumina. The conventional electrolyte was sodium beta alumina, and it used to have it, then it can happen only at 300 degrees Celsius. So, in place of this solid electrolyte, they use glass fiber separator soaked in ether based electrolyte. So, what is new? What is new is, in the present experiment, they used glass fiber separator. Instead of the solid electrolyte, they use glass fiber separator in ether based electrolyte. In ether based electrolyte. Okay. So, they have used an ether based electrolyte, glass fiber separator soaked in ether based electrolyte that allowed the battery to operate from room temperature. So, if they change the sodium beta alumina, the solid electrolyte, and they have entered into, or rather they have modified it, and they used a glass fiber separator soaked in ether based electrolyte, and they could achieve it in. And the advantage is, this sodium See, the best part about this sodium sulfur battery, both are easily available. The cost involved is very less, and if it is room temperature, it can be even almost nearly zero self discharge when not in use. So its utility has gone up dramatically, and it can be used in space and many other places. Most importantly, sodium and sulfur, both are easily available thing. It is not like lithium ion battery where the availability is a problem. That issue is not happening here. Now, coming to, since we are talking about the sodium, sulfur and all, let me just talk a couple of points about lithium ion and the electric vehicles. Okay. So, the government of India has recently, in fact, the Minister for Independent Charge Power, Coal, New and Renewable Energy, Mr. Piyush Goyal, has said that in India by 2030, only electric vehicles will be sold. Okay, by 2030 in India, only electric vehicles will be sold, and the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, there is something called National Electric Mobility Mission Plan. National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, NEMMP. It has set a sales target of approximately 5 to 7 million electric vehicles and hybrid electric vehicles by 2020 and all. 2020 is getting over, but this is the target which was originally kept. 5 to 7 million electric vehicles or hybrid, meaning it can be using both the electric as well as some petrol or gas will be used. So that is what the national by 2020. Okay, very easily they said, but now we are already in 5 to 7 million electric vehicles should be sold. That was the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan. And this lithium ion battery is the key to this kind of an electric vehicle right now. This lithium ion battery is also known as LIB. Lithium ion battery is also known as LIB. Okay, LIB is a rechargeable battery. What is this lithium ion battery, which is in news every time? It is a rechargeable battery in which lithium ions move from the negative electrode. Lithium ions move from the negative electrode during negative electrode to the positive electrode during discharge, from the negative electrode during discharge and back when charging the opposite will be happening. So it is a rechargeable battery, and this lithium ion batteries are common in many of our home electronics, including our mobile phones and all. And they are portable, most importantly for the portable electronics with high energy density. Okay, the advantage of lithium is a small battery, more energy can be stored. That is a high energy density. High energy density, then tiny memory effect and low self discharge. Again, it also has low self. When it is not in use, it may not be using. And these are growing popular in military, battery electric vehicles, okay, aerospace application everywhere. And India is pushing for this electric vehicles. And this will be the energy mix of the country will completely change. And now one important thing is securing lithium supply. So now otherwise what we are using is lead acid batteries in the vehicle. What is normally used is lead acid batteries, but now we are talking about lithium ion technology and lithium ion batteries. But in lithium ion technology, a couple more points, let me just remind you, it will be requiring some more similar elements which may be in demand in lib technology. Other elements like cobalt, graphite, okay, other elements like cobalt, graphite, lithium, phosphate are very important. Lithium and phosphate. So, these are the elements, or rather these are the compounds which are required, and also but the problem right now is there are only few countries in the world where this lithium is available. In India, we have no major evidence for any massive lithium availability right now. That is a major concern, and lithium is known as the white gold, whereas the petrol and all the black gold we will be talking about. So, lithium is known as the white gold, and it is slowly replacing the black gold. And countries like China, US, all of them are fighting it out in a big way. And Tesla, the American company, Elon Musk, so he is talking about 500,000 electric vehicles are to be produced. I mean, a lot of competition is going on. Lithium mining is a big issue, and right now Argentina, Bolivia and Chile control around 85% of the production. Okay, in these countries, Argentina, Bolivia and Chile, these three are known as the lithium triangle. Argentina, Bolivia and Chile, almost 85% of the source it is found there. And right now when it comes to the production, number one is Australia, number two is Chile. But in many of these countries, Chinese are owning the mines. That's a problem. Argentina, number 3. Argentina is number 3. So, Australia, Chile, Argentina, and as I said, Bolivia, Argentina and Chile is the lithium triangle. Then China, then Zimbabwe, then Portugal. So, the sequence in which I am talking. So, then Brazil. These are some of the countries which are having enough lithium and they are able to produce also. But many of these mines are owned by Americans or Chinese. That is okay. Okay. So, but India is also trying to acquire. We are also trying to acquire some in Chile, some in Bolivia and all. But it is not that easy to acquire these mines. But definitely we are also looking forward for something, because we lost out in the black gold. We have hardly any resources. We have hardly any production, and we are not able to own many of these oil wells in the world, petroleum oil wells in the world. But lithium we can. India is trying. India has taken off, and we are aware of the situation. Again, lithium is also not available in India. So this is a fight which is going on, and many international car makers are also in the race for developing some of the best electric vehicles. Tesla has come up with a great sports utility car called a Roadster. Roadster by Tesla is very famous, and it was there for quite some time now. And also when it comes to this electric car, now lithium ion batteries are very important for electric car. So a couple of points I would like to talk, because in India also lot of that green number plate and all those things have come. So let me talk about a few points about these electric cars. Okay, now all electric vehicles or other electric cars or EW, I mean, it's called EV, electric vehicles. Okay, they have an electric motor instead of an internal combustion engine. Please remember, they have an electric motor. This motor will rotate the tire. Okay, electric motor instead of an internal combustion engine, IC engine. Okay, it will have an electric motor instead of an internal combustion engine. Okay, it instead of an internal combustion engine. Then this also have their main activity. The vehicle use a large traction battery pack to power the electric motor and must be plugged into the charging station. I mean, the idea is there is no petrol, no diesel, no exhaust. An electric motor will rotate the, it will give energy or other power to the tires. It will rotate. Okay. So, since it rotates on electricity, the vehicle emits no exhaust from the through the exhaust pipe and does not contain any liquid fuel component, and no fuel pump, no fuel line, no fuel tank, nothing is required. And it has only an electric, or it will be a battery should be there. What is the most important thing required in an electric car? There will be a battery. Very important, battery should enough charge should be there. A charge port should be there. It should be chargeable. Charge port where it can be charged, like that where petrol can be added. So similarly, a charge port will be there, and a DC to DC converter, direct current to direct current converter. That is very important, where this device converts high voltage DC power from the battery. A high voltage DC power from the battery. Okay, a high voltage DC power from the battery to to be a low voltage DC power which can run the the motor and the accessories. Okay, it will be a high voltage DC power from the battery to a low voltage DC, again DC only, direct current DC power to run the motor and the accessories of the vehicle. And obviously we need a big motor. The third is the DC to DC converter, and finally the fourth important component of this car is an electric traction motor. Which will be the power from the battery. This motor drives the vehicle's wheels. This motor drives the vehicle's wheels. So, some vehicle use motor generator that perform both the drive and regeneration function also, but let us not worry about that. An electric motor should be there which can drive the vehicle's wheels. So, many internationally, if you look, there are some of the famous, I already said the Tesla is the Roadster, then Nissan Leaf, some of the famous brands in the international market, Nissan Leaf, then Ford Focus Electric, Ford Focus Electric, and Tesla has a Model S now, then Chevrolet Volt, Tesla Roadster I already said. So and that is how it is there. But the point is how many kilometers it can run and all. Okay, so right now even Hyundai has come out with a car in India which can travel almost 500 kilometers in one charging. So it's quite good enough. Okay, so and the battery charges are coming down dramatically. So it's much more what you call affordable for the people. In India, so many companies are there. One is Tata Electric, Tata Electric is one where they have come out with a hybrid electric star bus. Okay, in Pune, hybrid. See, hybrid means this vehicle can run by battery, plus it may be running by the normal combustion engine also. That is why hybrid electric star bus. And also it is from in Pune, and also they are coming out with the car, Tigor electric car, Tata Tigor electric car. You can see it's in the market, in the roads already in Delhi. I have seen many times. Then ultra electric bus, ultra electric. And I also see this star bus hybrid, that is already there. Then Mahindra electric is there. Mahindra is coming. Riva electric company is there, and Mahindra has purchased that. Riva is purchased by Mahindra, and they have come out with many models. Then Ashok Leyland electric, okay, Mahindra, Ashok Leyland. Okay, Ashok Leyland, and Ashok Leyland has come out with a bus called in a circuit. The Ashok Leyland model is known as circuit, and also the high bus. Then Electra, there is another company, Electra Green e-bus. Okay, that is another one. Then Ola Electric. I am just giving an idea, because sometimes these are all in news. So if you are asked, what is it all about? It is about the, and then Kona Electric, another company. Kona Electric is by Hyundai. First fully electric SUV, around 25 lakhs. Fully electric. Okay, Kona Electric is by Hyundai, and fully electric SUV around 25 lakh rupees. And then Hero Honda's Hero Electric is there, and also M-Flux Motors, a motorbike. Okay, M-Flux. M-Flux Motors. Then Okinawa Electric. Then again, Okinawa Autotech is a popular Indian company, electric two-wheeler manufacturer. Okay, Okinawa two-wheelers. Then Menza Motors. Okay, Menza. So these are some of the, and the Lohia Auto, when the e-electric and e-rickshaws, Lohia Motors or Lohia Auto, in fact, e-rickshaw manufacturer like Bajaj e-rickshaw is there, Mahindra e-rickshaw is there. Then Kinetic Green, a lot of them. Okay, so there are so many e-rickshaw companies are also there. So anyway, so these are some of the electric car or electric vehicle manufacturers, and it is going to have big traction. Lithium Ion Battery, that is something very important, and it is costly right now. Securing lithium will be a future challenge for India, like securing oil wells across the world was a challenge for India. The same thing is going to happen for lithium also in future, unless otherwise we come up with some other batteries which are equally powerful. Okay, so let us hope. Sodium sulfur we are talking about. So these kind of things will dramatically alter and change the electric vehicle market in the future. Anyway, that's about electric vehicle. I am expecting some question from the electric vehicles also, because, and maybe the Indian brands, something. Okay, maybe it can be anything. It can be a simple question. So be careful. So no internal combustion engine in an electric vehicle. So because we are no fluid is used. So no piston and no pump. Okay, no fuel pump or fuel pipe and fuel tank. Nothing is there in an electric vehicle. Okay, only motor and a battery. So battery should provide the charge, and the motor should rotate, and it should power the wheels. Okay, that is the idea behind an electric car. So let us hope we will be able to use it elaborately. Now, another coming out of this, another topic, I mean, slightly different from science. I mean, in between, I remember I thought I will be using this universal basic income. You know it, but still, especially after the corona and during the this pandemic, many people are talking about universal basic income, and it is very important. And in the context of this, even our economic survey talked about, I think 2016 or 17, economic survey talked about universal basic income. During the last election time, the Congress party were talking about some sort of a universal basic income. Now, once again, during this pandemic, when the mass migration of the people, when the poor are suffering, the unorganized people are suffering, they have no money to survive. At this time, again, people are talking about the universal basic income once again. And Sikkim is the first state in India to roll out some sort of a universal basic income. Sikkim, the first state. But Sikkim's population is very less. We can manage it very easily. And what do you mean by universal basic income? Here, every person have a right to have basic income. Every person have a right to have a basic income. Universal, right to have basic income to cover their needs just by virtue of being citizen of this country. Okay, basic income just by virtue of being a citizen of India. No other questions are asked. Your caste is not asked, their religion is not asked, your income is not asked. Everybody will be given a basic income. Okay, so a basic, universal basic income refers to a certain amount that is meant to be transferred to the people uniformly. It is meant to be transferred uniformly. Uniform transfer. Uniform transfer. Irrespective of their social or economic status. Uniform transfer irrespective of their social or economic status. That is the idea behind this universal basic income. So, three significant components: universality, everybody will get; unconditional. So, three significant components of UBI, universal basic income, is universality, unconditionality, unconditionally, and there will be the support in form of a cash transfer to the recipient's choice. Okay, so you unconditional, then transfer of cash. Cash will be given, and no conditions as where to use, how to use, it is not mentioned, or there will not be any conditions on that. So this will definitely help in the social justice and productive economy. And these are the questions which are being asked. So please remember, economic survey already talked. Why is it news? And why am I talking about it? Economic survey talked about a universal basic income long before 2016, I think. Then during the last election time, the Congress party was talking about, in their election manifesto, they talked about some sort of a universal basic income. They are talking about, I think, 6,000 rupees. And right now, during this pandemic, more people, or rather many experts, are talking about transferring money to the poor. Whether it should be universal, whether there can be some sort of segregation, maybe the upper 20% or 25% can be ignored, but if at all you are talking about at least 75%, even there is universal basic income in the the economic survey are talking about around 75% of the people should be covered. That is the idea which was said at that time. So in India, when we have millions of hungry and illiterate people are there, access to minimum income to every citizen can prove or improve the deprivation or reduce the poverty and chronic hunger. No doubt regarding this. A guaranteed minimum income can also fight the various diseases and problems like child labor, the chronic hunger, and also the potential to improve the enrollment rate in the primary and secondary level education. So that is how, and there is right now whatever we are providing, there is a lot of exclusion errors in targeting the beneficiaries. Right now there are a lot of exclusion errors, meaning we are because of the error we are excluding many people from getting this service right now. And lot of energy is spent by the state machinery in implementing the schemes for the vulnerable section. Identification and implementation, lot of money is spent on identification and lot of money is spent to ensure that this is not being misused by anybody else. So these problems can automatically be avoided. And already we have a Jan Dhan account, then mobile for Aadhaar mobile platform we have already created. That linkage is already there. It is not that difficult to implement. We know the citizen, most people have Aadhaar card, most people have bank account. We have ensured, right from the Prime Minister Modi came to power, right from 2014, we are insisting on Jan Dhan account, mobile phone, majority of the people are having, and then, this, if the transfer of money will not be a problem, and that is what many experts are saying. Just for an idea, even in the budget of 2016-17, there were around 950 centrally sponsored schemes were there. 950 centrally sponsored schemes were there, and the total expenditure in that were around 5% of the GDP. 5% of GDP was spent on around 950 centrally sponsored schemes. And according to many experts, if you can cut all these things or majority of them, if you can cut majority of them, and if you are directly transferring money, and if you are targeting even 75% of the population, see, if you are just keeping a rough figure of 75%, a quasi-universality, okay, this is called 75% if you are targeting, we may be calling it as quasi-universality. If you focus on quasi-universality 70, so there is no pressure. Even if 1% extra people get, there is no problem. And with anywhere between 7,650 or 620 to 6,540 rupees if you are paying. Okay, so an annual range, if it is in that range, even that will add up to only 4.9% of GDP at that time. So it was said that on the basis of assumed consumption level just above the poverty, and just to make sure that people are not in the poverty level, even if you are transferring around 7,620 to 6,540 rupees in a universal basic income, it will be costing around 4.9% of the GDP, which is well within the 5% of the GDP, which can easily be managed. Okay, so that is what. But I don't think we will be able to replace food, the right to food and other things, the wage jobs and MNREGS. And so along with that, if you can identify, even 50% of the population, 70% of the 60% of the population for a basic income, this can be a good idea, especially in a pandemic time. So that is why it has been talked about. Many countries are experimenting with it, and nowhere it has been fully implemented and successful. So we'll have to look into that case. But that is why this word or universal basic income idea has come, and considering the vast economic disparity which is there in the country, considering the fact that vast majority people have no jobs in the organized sector, considering the fact that in this kind of a pandemic-like situation where millions of people lost their jobs, universal, if not universal, at least 50%, 60%, 70% of the population or 75% of the population can be considered. And when the government talks about 10% of the GDP and economic stimulus and 20 lakh crore rupees they are talking, 5% of the GDP for a universal basic, and that could have been a good idea even for the revival of the economy. Even for the revival of the economy in these pandemic conditions, this kind of a universal basic, if not universal, I mean, let us start with 30%, 40% of the bottom of the population. In the process, if some undeserving people also get the money, it's okay. Let us forget about it. Let us not worry too much about that. But we have Aadhaar, we have Jan Dhan account, we have mobile phone connectivity for verification and all. It is not that easy to manipulate if you are implementing things in the right spirit. So this is possible and it's doable, considering the extraordinary economic situation of the country. So that is where the universal basic income idea I wanted to talk, because I just chanced upon, I was thinking of talking about this in some other class, but I missed out. So I thought I will talk about this because it is very much in news these days. Then a couple of points about FASTag. I know you have already heard about this. FASTag is an electronic toll collection system in India. Electronic toll collection in India, operated by the NHAI, National Highway Authority of India, and it is employing radio frequency identification, RFID, employing radio frequency identification, or it is called RFID, radio frequency identification. And it is this directly from a prepaid account. Okay, so it is where on the windscreen of the vehicle, where when it is attached, this RFID is attached, or rather this identifier is attached on the windscreen, and we can drive through the toll plazas and automatically the money is cut. You know it very well how it works. And there is even a 7.5% cashback offer was also there in the beginning. So what do you mean by this RFID? It uses electromagnetic field to automatically identify and track tags attached to the object. So we have a tag on our vehicle, radio frequency, or it uses electromagnetic field for automatically identifying these tags. So an RFID consists of three things. It has a tiny radio transponder, is an electronic device which can receive signal and re-emit and all. Okay, a radio receiver and a transmitter. A radio receiver and a transmitter. So it's a tiny radio transponder. It has a tiny radio transponder, a radio receiver, and a transmitter. And when triggered by the electromagnetic rays from a nearby RFID reader device. So there is from the toll plaza there is an RFID reader device, and from that, when the electromagnetic radiations are released, this tag, it will hit the tag, and the tag will immediately transmit digital data. When an electromagnetic impulse or pulse hits from an RFID device or reader device, this tag will transmit digital data. This tag will transmit digital data. This tag will transmit digital data, and it will immediately identify the number also, the number, the unique identification number, and the digital data related to the money and everything. So money will be transferred automatically. Okay, so it can be, there are two types of tags also. One is called the passive tags, which is normally used in our cars and all, passive tags, and the other one is of course the active tag. So passive tags are powered by energy from the reader. It is powered by the electromagnetic impulse powered by the energy from the reader, the RFID reader, so that they will be communicating. But active tags are powered by a battery and thus can read at a greater range. Active tag, they are powered by a battery So, a battery will be there in that, a small battery charged active tag will be there. So, that is in the normal cars which we are using right now, it is called passive tag, and the passive tag up to 100 meters, that is what they are saying. The range can be as long as 100 meters, there is no problem. So, what is the difference between a barcode? See, in a barcode, the tag does not need to be within the line of sight of the reader. See, in a barcode, the bar should be in the vicinity or in the line of sight. Okay. So, unlike in a barcode, this tag need not be within the line of sight of the reader, need not be in the line of sight of the reader, So, it can be within the object also. I mean, in fact, suppose a parcel is there and if a barcode is there or a tag is there, even if it is not visible, this can be used. That is the advantage. It can be within the object also, embedded within the tracked object also. So, it is RFID is a method of automatic identification and data capture. RFID. So, line of sight is not required, and it is a method of automatic identification and data capture. Automatic identification and data capture. So, it is used in many, it can be used in many industries. Indian Railway is fixing it on all the wagons and the engines so that it can be tracked very easily. So, there are many operations we are talking right now. So, recently the Indian Railway said that all 3.5 lakh coaches will be equipped with smart tags, so that it is very easy to track the movement of the tracks and even movement of the wagons and the engines, and also each engine which is moving through a particular location. It can even all data can also be stored in that about the wagon. About the compartment, maybe, okay, about the age of the compartment, when was it made, when was the maintenance done, everything can be cross-checked very easily, so that no wagon or no engine or no coach will be flying from one place to another without proper maintenance and other things. So, it can really be a great help for Indian Railways. They are already spending a couple of hundreds of crores of rupees for fitting every wagon, every compartment, every engine with this RF tag. So, this is going by 2021, they will be equipping all the railway movable wagons and engines with this kind of a RFID tag, which will be of great help for them, right. So, that is about RFID and radio frequency identification. That is what it has been talked about. Now, let me move to another very interesting topic called millimeter waves. Millimeter wave. What do you mean by millimeter wave? Whenever we talk about 5G technology and other things, we hear about this. So, a millimeter wave is an extremely high frequency band. A high frequency band of electromagnetic radiation between 30 gigahertz and 300 gigahertz frequency. So, please remember radio frequency spectrum. This is 30 to 300 gigahertz radio frequency spectrum. And those beginners, let me just remind you, when we talk about the electromagnetic radiation, including light rays are part of the electromagnetic radiation. We have gamma ray, we have X-ray, we have ultraviolet, we have visible, we have infrared, we have micro, we have radio waves. So, this is the entire range of electromagnetic spectrum, and in this what is visible and what is common about both are all of them can travel at the speed of light. The velocity of all these, whether gamma, X-ray, ultraviolet, visible, all of them, even radio waves, all of them will be traveling at the same speed. Velocity is 3 lakh kilometers per second. That we know. Then what is this velocity? Velocity is equal to frequency into wavelength. See, in this spectrum on one side to the other, just for your Aam Aadmi's information, I mean this is engineers and science graduates may be knowing it, but I am just repeating in this last moment also. Here gamma rays have maximum frequency and minimum wavelength. What is frequency? Number of vibrations per second, and that is measured in hertz, H-E-R-T-Z. Okay, number of vibrations per second, it is measured in hertz. Okay, that is 30 gigahertz. I will come to that. So, whereas in the radio waves, here minimum frequency, number of vibrations per second is minimum, maximum wavelength. And one more point about the electromagnetic radiation is, when you move from radio to gamma ray, I mean in that direction, when the frequency increases, the energy also increases. Okay, more the frequency, more energy. Okay, just one more point, more frequency is equal to more energy. So, when we are talking about high end, high quality, more energy, okay, more energy waves, we have to move closer. The radio waves, in the radio wave also long wave, medium wave, short wave. Short wave has more energy, it can travel more distance. Okay, as the gamma ray, X-ray and all, it can travel more. So, because of that reason. Anyway, so this is how it is there. Now, we are talking about radio wave, and we have seen in the radio wave also, as I told you, we have long waves, we have medium wave radio station, short wave radio stations and all. And as you move further, you have we say VHF, very high frequency. Frequency is increasing as you move in this direction. The radio waves, what will happen? The frequency will increase. Here, minimum frequency. Please remember, long wave have minimum frequency, maximum wavelength. Then ultra high frequency, UHF, ultra high frequency, and then moving towards, okay, then moving towards the microwave. Now we are talking about a very high frequency, 30 to 300 gigahertz. So 30 to 300 gigahertz, that means 30 into giga means 10 to the power 9 vibrations per second. Okay, 30 into 10 to the giga, 10 to the power 9, mega is 10 to the power 6, kilo is 10 to the power 3. Please remember. Okay, so 30, so we are talking about more vibration, more energy. Now, when we have a higher frequency, what is the wavelength? Now, what is the wavelength of these waves? Okay, that is the question, the radio waves. So, when we are talking about 30 to 300 gigahertz, so wavelength also, when the wavelength is, the wavelength also will be less. What is the wavelength will be between 10 mm to 1 mm range. Okay, wavelength will be in 10 millimeter to 1 millimeter range. That is why this is called millimeter waves. So, please understand, that is why we are calling it as millimeter waves. Okay, so where the frequency is between 30 to 300 gigahertz, or the wavelength is between, or please remember, so if at 30 gigahertz, then it may be 10 mm, and at 300 gigahertz may be 1 mm. Okay, so 30 to 300 has a wavelength of 10 mm to 1 mm radio frequency, and these waves, these are called millimeter waves, and these waves have great application these days. we are entering into an era of millimeter waves. These radio frequency, the frequency of where which has the radio frequency or radio waves having a wavelength between 10 mm and 1 mm is going to play a very crucial role in our day-to-day life. And if a radio wave has a wavelength of 10 mm to 1 mm, its frequency will be between 30 gigahertz, 30 into 10 to the power 9 vibration per second to 300 into 10 to the power 9 vibrations per second. So that is what is going to happen now. So what are the applications of that? That is what I am interested in. And first and foremost is in the 5G, the fifth generation mobile communication. 5G is the most discussed technology in recent times. And 5G will be using millimeter wave anywhere between 24 gigahertz to 74 to 86 gigahertz. So please remember, 5G technology is going to use millimeter waves and the frequency will be between 24 gigahertz to 86 gigahertz. And the process is on, and millimeter waves will replace the traditional fiber optics transmission. Please remember, these millimeter waves will replace the traditional fiber optic transmission. Fiber optics transmission, and it is going to revolutionize. The biggest thing about the 5G is no latency or minimum latency. What is latency? The time gap or the delay in transmission. The transmission delay will be minimized and it can be used in various applications. I will come to that. So first and foremost is the 5G, then HD video application, another big application about the millimeter wave. High definition video transfer, and wirelessly we can transfer high definition video, which is going to happen only by the millimeter wave. And also a new technology which is coming, or which is called what you call WiGig, WiGig, WiGig technology. Millimeter waves are coming with the WiGig technology or wireless gigabit alliance. Wireless gigabit alliance. What do you mean by this? This is a technology designed to support future audio and visual media devices and wireless display interfaces at gigabit rate. So wireless display devices or interfaces at gigabit speed. Giga means 10 to the power 9 bit. One operation, okay, one bit in computer. Okay, byte is different, I am talking about bit. One bit is equal to one operation per second. Very simple. 8 operations per second, one byte is 8 operations. What is one operation? Switch on and off. Okay, on 0 and 1. Okay, what is 0? Off. 1 is on. Okay, so one operation. Now we are talking about wireless gigabit operations, meaning 10 to the power 9 operations per second. We are talking about 10 to the power 9 operations. So wireless gigabit alliance is a technology designed to support future audio and visual media devices and wireless display interface at gigabit rate. High performance transmission of data between devices and computer will be achieved using this WiGig transmission protocol. So we are talking about WiGig transmission protocol. So what is this protocol? Wireless gigabit transmission. Okay, wireless I am repeating, gigabit protocol, transmission protocol, which is possible by this millimeter technology, and also in satellite communication, great application. Also, in the automotive technology, automotive appliances, where it can be used in detection of passengers and other obstruction in real time and low latency. Wireless cars or other driverless cars is possible through the millimeter technology. Body scanners are getting popular in the road nowadays. Again, millimeter wave technology is used. Radar applications. Okay, so there is a property millimeter wave called beam width. This is a beam width, is one of the properties of millimeter waves, beam width. And miniature size radars on single chip has been developed using sophisticated semiconductors. It can be used for motion sensors, automatic doors, collision avoidance systems. Okay, they call millimeter waves can help in doing all these things. Also, virtual reality headsets. Then in medical application, something called MMW therapy, small mm, capital W therapy. Please see, MMW therapy because of millimeter waves. This is something called for treating acute pain. So where millimeter waves, the radio signals are used in medical application called MMW therapy, treating acute pain. Millimeter wave therapy use frequency range between 40 gigahertz to 70 gigahertz, 40 to 70 gigahertz to experiment with the medical conditions, okay, to pain relief and all, which is called MMW therapy. So some of the advantages of millimeter waves include higher data rate to higher bandwidth. It can it can support higher data rate, higher bandwidth is there. Conventional higher data rate transmission require fiber optic cable, no need for fiber optic cable installation. And also millimeter wave technology can easily achieve 10 gigabits per second data rate for communication. 10 BPS, gigabits per second. 10 gigabits per second data rate for communication is possible. And also the component size is very small, smaller devices. But one disadvantage, because it is radio signal, millimeter wave require line of sight communication. One disadvantage, it require, since it is a radio waves, it require line of sight communication. Line of sight, it require line of sight communication. It should be visible to each other. And so during cloudy atmosphere or the broadband service, we have already seen in such, it will be distorted. So there will be poor signal quality in cloudy, dusty, foggy conditions and all. It could be a problem. And 5G technology, I already talked, we are all experimenting, we are all waiting for 5G to happen, and it will be the successor of the current 4G network. And the data speed will increase and the latency will reduce, and 5G will be most effective where it is difficult to deploy the fiber optics. And 5G will be able to underpin services such as augmented reality. I already talked about augmented reality. And now 4G technology, please remember the cellular network focus on mobile phone, 4G technology on mobile phone and mobile data communication. But 5G will be able to used in various other applications like crop equipment, refrigerators, then household appliances, then for send and receive data, traffic signals to send and receive data depending upon the traffic. And it can enable self-driving cars, 5G technology, the millimeter waves, self-driven cars, because it virtually eliminates the latency. The delay in communication will be substantially reduced. So that is why driverless cars, which will be requiring technology, and also it can be. But the problem, one other side of the problem is, even after everything, because 4G, the amount of communication, the amount of technology required to deploy it across the world was comparatively much easier. Even after everything, even in 2025, according to some estimate, only 15% of the mobile GSM connection or the mobile connection may have 5G access. Only 15% globally. Even by 2025, only 15% may have access to this kind of 5G technology. So low latency can revolutionize multiplayer in mobile gaming, factory robots, telemedicine, everywhere. But connectivity, the availability, the millimeter wave availability, all these things will be a factor. So then only we will be able to implement. Long way to go in India. And the Huawei, you might have heard about that, the Chinese company trying to enter, and we have blocked it. Americans have blocked it because we have data security issues are also there. We are afraid and we are not confident of the Chinese technology and Chinese companies these days, how they they transfer data, how they misuse the data. All these issues are there. But 5G millimeter technology, chances of getting a question from millimeter technology is very high. So we'll stop here. After half an hour, by 3:30, rather 3:35, Manish will be taking up his classes or his areas. Tomorrow, a couple more science-related topics. I'll be talking some international bilateral topics also, and day after again, I will be talking something about the exam handling and how to handle. These are very important now. You have to prepare. You have to practice and minimize your mistakes, minimize silly mistakes and errors, and maximize your score. We need only around 50% of the marks, but how to get that, how to be above that cutoff mark is a big challenge. So practice, revision, and solving as maximum questions as possible. That is the key. Even if you have already taken the test, do it again. Make sure that you are strengthening that, the existing, and our tests, please take it serious. The full tests are going on. It is already available in the prelim score. Please take it. Please don't skip the test. And every test will make you more perfect, and you will be inching closer to your success when you take more tests. And don't hesitate. Don't go by anybody else's logic. You must take. Our tests are very, very genuine and seriously taken and seriously given, and you take it seriously. So that's all for today. And at 3:35, Manish will be having his areas. Tomorrow, some science, some international bilateral topics I'll be covering. And a day after, as I told, some exam tips and other thing will be there on Friday. So thank you. Bye-bye for the day.